Hello, and welcome to Liverpool Latest. And that's as much of an intro as you get out of me today. I have no energy. I've run out of energy with this team, as we have suffered what could have been a much worse loss than it was. But a 2-0 loss is still down 2-0 in the aggregate. And PSG was absolutely having its way with us for the majority of the match. And I say that because the stats don't lie. It's actually kind of hilarious, the statistics that I'm seeing here in front of me, which I will happily read off to you. Well, actually, unhappily, but will happily do it for the sake of the video and to make the points I need to make. 17 shots on goal, PSG to Liverpool's 3. 7 shots on target to Liverpool's none. Not only did we have 3 shots, we had absolutely nothing on target. I don't even think we made it to the half. I think we barely made it to the offensive half of the field, or the final third of the field, to even make an attempt on the goal. From all I've seen on the highlights, and I watched about an 8-minute highlight video, when I tell you it was a PSG highlight video, there was not a single positive Liverpool outcome outside of the penalty that was called off from VAR. Thank God, because the VAR gods were looking down on us this time. And then on top of that, any save Mamardashvili made, and Mamardashvili had a pretty solid game. He made saves that could have made this situation a lot worse if he hadn't. They were, even though they are Mamardashvili highlights, they are still PSG highlights, because who got to that part of the field to make Mamardashvili work? PSG. Anyhow, 74% possession to Liverpool's 26. I have not seen us dominated in possession like that in a very long time, if at all. I can understand like maybe a 55-45 split or something like that, where it's like relatively even and it doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. But 74-26 is like the type of football Arne Slot wants to play. And yet, this time around, it was turned against us. This next stat makes me laugh. 733 passes were made by PSG to Liverpool's 255. If you do the math on that, that's nearly 500 passes differential. 500. That's insane. I have not seen numbers like that ever in my entire time, not only doing this show, but paying attention to football in general. Now, pass accuracy, which I find to be a bit of a less worthy stat to pay attention to, 93% PSG, 78% Liverpool. Okay, cool. They pass the ball to their players a lot better. 10 fouls apiece for both sides. 2 yellow cards for us to PSG's none, so we unfortunately took a couple of yellow cards, although it could have been a lot worse with the Konate, what would have been a bad Konate penalty. No red cards were given in the match. 1 offside for PSG to Liverpool's 2, and 3 corners were given to Liverpool's 1 in favor of PSG, so PSG had more opportunity for set pieces. All in all, a very, very disappointing game from what I have read online today. And it just seems as though the fan consensus, at least from those I follow and I read, are very much fed up with the whole Arne Slot project, the Arne Slot penitentiary, because that's essentially where we are right now. We are literally in prison watching Liverpool football under Arne Slot. So, I don't think there's any better way to put it than that. But I find it hilarious that there is a quote out there, or at least that there was talk of out there, specifically from Arne Slot himself, that he does not enjoy the Premier League style of football. He enjoys European football in the sense of how PSG play it. I find it hilarious because today was essentially the most prominent and blatant example of a low block defense that I could have ever have seen. And here's why I say that. This lineup is pure defensive desperation. The only offensive pieces I can see here are those of Ekitike, Szoboszlai, somewhat McAllister, and Wirtz. Frimpong, definitely a bit more of a defensive piece. He could carry the ball and press the ball up, but he's still mostly a right back. Gravenberch, more of a defensive back, more of a defensive midfielder. And of course, Kirkez, Van Dijk, Konate, and Gomez consisted of the back four. Realistically, the formation was a 4-2-3-1, but this could have very well been a 5-man back, which was rumored to have been a thing. So, if you ask me, I am very much just... I sit here and I laugh. When I saw that lineup on Twitter before the match, I laughed. I was like, well, there goes any offensive prowess that we could have potentially had. And it's still funny because despite the fact that this was much more of a defensive starting 11 than what we have typically started in the past, Doué, Dembele, and, oh God, I'm going to butcher this, Kvaratskhelia, I'm just going to call him Kravi for short, just to make my life easier. Doué, Dembele, and Kravi, they absolutely pieced the defense. Any opportunity they had to piece the defense, they had it. I must have heard their names in that highlight video more times than I could count. And thank God Mamardashvili had some pretty good saves, because this could have been a lot worse. This could have very well been a 4-5-6-0 game. Now, granted, 2 of those goals, he probably could have done a better job defending. One of those goals being the first one by Doué. I don't think there was much he can do about it. I think it was deflected and he just didn't know where it was going to land. The second goal was very poor defending on my part. The fact that he allowed Kravi to get around him and basically have a wide open net was very embarrassing. I think that I can definitely blame Mamardashvili for that goal. But the first one by Doué, I don't really know if I hold it too much against him, especially after he made some pretty solid saves after the fact. But disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. And again, very ironic and very hilarious that Arne Slot has to resort to Premier League style football and a low block defense, more or less, that still got pieced up quite a bit to make up for this. And you know what's funny? And I am not defending Slot in any way, shape, and form when I say this. But I think this point needs to be made because I feel like this is my way of coping with the fact of the situation that we are currently in at this moment in time. This starting 11 was put together not to score goals. This starting 11 was put together for absolutely no offensive prowess at all. Hence why Ekitike is probably the only pure striker on the field at any given time up until the 79th minute where the substitutions took place. This was a side that was curated to prevent the damage from being worse than it could have been if there were more striker forward focused players out on that field who maybe may not play as good of defense as others might, who have defensive capability. Don't get me wrong, Szoboszlai, defensive capability, also a good forward midfielder if we need him to be. Frimpong, also similar. McAllister, when he's on it, he's on it. When he's not, he's not. Wirtz, well, even though he's been very rough recently, he's also very much an offensive-minded player. But at the end of the day, this was more or less a team that was structured for defensive desperation than anything. And like I said, this game could have been a lot worse. So the fact that we have an opportunity, barring any sort of concessions in the next game at Anfield, the fact that we could potentially, if we're lucky anyway, score 3 goals to win us a semifinal spot in the Champions League would say a lot, if you ask me. But I know I'm asking for a lot in that regard. But when we sit here and we get online and we get mad and we blame somebody, we also have to think of it from a different perspective as well. I'm trying to think of it from a very realistic, logical perspective. Perhaps in the next game, there will be a much more offensive focused team put together so that way they could actually have the kind of football Arne Slot wants to play. But I know I'm asking for a lot in that regard. And I'm certainly asking for a lot in terms of decent substitutions. Some of these substitutions Arne Slot makes are some of the most dim-witted, inept decisions I could see on the field. I mentioned the 79th minute, 4 changes were made. Ekitike, Wirtz, Kirkez, and Szoboszlai get off the field in place of Gakpo, Isak, Robertson, and Jones. Now, the biggest name of that bunch is Isak, having played a single game of football in a very, very long time. What feels like forever, practically. But here's the thing. Wouldn't it make sense to have someone the likes of Isak have somebody feed him chances and have creative opportunities if they presented themselves? Wouldn't you think Florian Wirtz would be the perfect person to keep on the field for that? Instead of just making substitutions willy-nilly for the sake of maybe he's trying to keep them fresh. I don't know. But if you ask me, I think I could see Ekitike leaving the field. He didn't have a very good game, but again, I don't think it was a game for him to really go off offensively on. Kirkez, I understand replacing him for Robertson. Jones for Szoboszlai. I mean, he probably could have replaced him with McAllister. Maybe that would have been a better opportunity, but that's just neither here nor there. Gakpo on the field is going to be Gakpo, so I feel like, I mean, what's Gakpo gonna do to help Isak try and score goals, right? Like, come on now, let's be realistic here with our expectations. Very, very inept changes. Probably one of the more inept changes later on, which angered a lot of fans for several reasons, was Trey Nioni in place of Jeremy Frimpong. That would lead to Mo Salah not making an appearance, and a lot of fans are angry about that, and I certainly have my fair share of opinions based on that as well. I either saw a tweet or I saw some posts in regards to something that was said on Sky Sports or someone in regards to Sky Sports. Maybe it was something even that Steven Gerrard said after the game in this little post-game panel he was on with the field with 2 other individuals, a woman and a man. I couldn't make out who they were. And somebody said something, whoever it was, I heard or saw this tweet that when Mo Salah struggles, Liverpool struggles. And I think that goes to show, given how good Mo has been, how our season has gone. I'm not saying that Mo is the end-all be-all with our offense, as we have acquired very good pieces for it that are not thriving as well as we wish they would have. But it's sad to see somebody who is on his way out of the team be disrespected like this, to not even be given a chance to go onto the field. I think that's one of the things Gerrard said, that it must be tough to not even be given a chance. He's a playmaker. He is a clutch player. He may be having a bad season now, but he historically has been our guy to make those clutch plays when we need him to make those clutch plays. And the fact that he was ignored, especially after reportedly warming up on the sideline, only to be left on the bench. I don't know if it's a vendetta Slot has against Mo or what, But the more I see stuff like this, the more I find myself on Mo's side. Not that I wasn't already on his side kind of anyway after that whole blow up before the new year in, what was it, December it was? Late December? I more and more find myself siding with Mo in this situation. Because I do feel like he's being disrespected by the manager. I do feel like the club, especially now, is trying to just push him out more than ever. I just feel like he's being disrespected to a point where it's almost uncomfortable to watch. We don't have much time with this man left. I think fans will want to see one of the most legendary players in the history of to wear a Liverpool shirt go out and at least try to make an impact, even if it's for a brief period of time. And the more I think about situations like this, and the more I see situations like this, the more I think to myself that Mo is not leaving because he's sick of Liverpool. If it was up to him, he would stay until the end of his contract. I think the problem is rooted much deeper than that, and I think the problem is rooted in Arne Slot. Because clearly, the club it had to have made a choice, and it seems as though the more I see these reports, the more I start to believe them, that the club will back Arne Slot to no end, and for even though the results have clearly not proven anything. So I think Mo called it quits early just to get away from Slot. There's no way you could convince me otherwise with this now. I didn't want to believe it at first. I just wanted it to be like maybe he just wants a different change of scenery. Maybe he is getting to a point where he's getting older and he's getting tired, and maybe he can't perform at a level for the club that he wants to. And then and that may still be true, but I'm at the point now where I'm very much thinking that Slot is a very major factor in that decision too. And it also is very telling that Slot didn't really mention too much about him in the days that followed the announcement. It took a interview. I don't even know who did the interview that I saw days after the fact. As a matter of fact, it was maybe even a week ago now, well after the fact of the announcement being made, that Slot was like, oh, yeah, I heard about the interview. I heard about the announcement. Obviously, I knew about the announcement. And he just is very deadpan, very emotionless, very, I don't want to say matter of fact, but he's just very blah about the whole thing. Almost like he almost wanted it to happen. I don't know. Maybe I'm just creating a narrative that isn't there, but it just makes me angry. Stuff like this, especially as a Mo fan. Like, I want to see the guy fucking play on the field. I want to see him try and make an impact. Like, let me enjoy my last bit of time with him in a Liverpool shirt instead of making me fucking miserable with his absolute insanity that I'm watching week in and week out with this team. When I thought it couldn't get any lower after the Man City loss, it's getting just as bad. So that is my Liverpool latest today. Thank you guys for watching. There's not too much more I can say. If you enjoy, please subscribe for more. Share it with your friends. Let's grow a community, because when you join the Liverpool Latest family, you never walk alone. And it's not over yet, but it certainly feels like it's over. That's where I leave you with that. Thank you, guys. Be well.